Hey guys, welcome to TPM. Today we're going to stick with the topic of precision rifles. We're going to take a look at 5 different bipod options for you that can be used from anything from competition to hunting. So I'll go through each bipod individually, read off the specs, give you guys the weight, and then we'll take a look at some of the features and discuss what I use these bipods for. Alright guys, we'll kick this thing off by taking a look at this Harris bipod right here. So Harris bipods in general are, in my opinion, it's the gold standard. They are the old faithful of the bipods that we see out there today. These things have been around forever. They're simple, they work well, and they're not overly priced. So we'll get into the specs on this one. This is a S-BRM model, which stands for swivel bench rest model. It has legs that extend from 6 to 9 inches. It swivels, which we'll talk about in a second. The legs are spring-loaded, and they have notches in 1-inch increments to make it easier to level out your bipod at different heights. Next, traditionally this bipod attaches to the sling swivel stud on the front of your rifle, and the attachment point is underneath this mount. However, I have added this ADM quick release mount just so it makes it easier to take the bipod on and off of my hunting rifles and shed some weight when I need to. Additionally, you see a KMW pod lock here, and what this does is it just makes tensioning the swivel mechanism a little bit easier, and then you can firmly lock it into place so you don't have any movement. The legs are quick to deploy, they're just spring-loaded, and they pull out, and it's just an overall very, very simple unit that works well. So typically I'll use these on my hunting rifles, and this one kind of floats around to several hunting rifles, but it served me well for a number of years, and I think this one's got to be close to probably 7 or 8 years old, and they just work well like I mentioned before. Up next we have this Atlas bipod. This is a BT10 V8 model. It has a height range of 4.8 inches to 9.1 inches. The legs have 5 different locking positions. It weighs 11 ounces, and this is a model that comes with the direct mount for picatinny rails. On the bottom here we have this nut, and this serves to tension the pan feature of the bipod. And to deploy the legs, we simply push this button and we lock it into any of these 5 notches along the side here. To lengthen the legs, we pull down on this collar, slide the outer leg down the inner leg, and it'll lock into any of these notches that you see on the inner leg here. Another cool feature about this bipod is it has interchangeable feet, so you can buy a variety of different feet for different terrain and different uses. And at 11 ounces, this one sees a lot of use on my hunting rifles, but I have used it in competition before and it works very well. And here we have our second Atlas bipod. This is a BT65 Gen 2 Canton lock. It's got a height range of 5.1 inches to 9.4 inches. And similar to the V8, it has 5 leg positions at 0, 45, 90, 135, and 180 degrees. The outer legs no longer rotate around the inner legs for a little bit more stability. And this one doesn't have a pan feature, however it does have a cant feature. And we have this KMW pod lock back here, and that adjusts the tension on the cant feature. I've added this really right stuff quick release mount. This allows me to quick detach this bipod on a picatinny rail or a full-length Arca rail. So being that this is a little bit heavier than some of the other options, this bipod usually sees its work on the bench or in a match situation. And now we come to the Rolls Royce of all the bipods on the table. This is the MDT Skypod, and this thing is absolutely loaded with cool features. So as far as the specs go, it weighs 21 ounces, so it is significantly heavier than everything else up on the table. It's also significantly more expensive. This is the standard pull model, so it has an 8-inch length collapsed, as you see it here, and it goes all the way out to 15 inches long. So to deploy the bipod, we have these buttons here on the side. Simply push that in, and it locks in at 45 degrees and all the way down at 90 degrees. On the back side, we have these buttons to change the footprint of the bipods. We can push these, and there's once again 3 options to lengthen or narrow the footprint of the bipod. So on top here we have this little knob. What that does is that locks out the pan feature, so you can have it solid or in a panning mode, and it locks in pretty solid there. On the very front of it, we have this tension knob here. This tensions the cant. I have it torqued down pretty tight because I don't use that feature traditionally. So I guess this bipod is more in line with what we would use for competitions. I'd never taken this hunting just simply because of the weight, and I don't need the added features that it offers in a hunting situation, but it works very, very well in a competition setting for the PRS and NRL matches. And last but not least, we have our Magpul Bipod. This one weighs 11 ounces and has a 10.3 inch max height. This is the picatinny rail mount model. And if we look closely, you'll notice that the bipod is almost entirely constructed of polymer, with the exception of the mount here, some hardware, and this aluminum inner leg. To deploy it, simply pull down on the legs and they lock into place at 90 degrees. To change the height, we have two buttons here on the back of the legs. We go to full extension, or we can stop at any one of these notches on the back side of the inner leg. We also have a tension knob here for the cant feature, so we can loosen it for free cant back and forth, or we can tighten it up and lock it into one place. So being that this bipod is the lightest of the bunch, this one mostly sees use on my hunting rifles. The only thing I would like to see differently is I need to figure out a way to put a quick detach on this somehow, just so I can take it on and off a little easier in the field. Other than that, it's a great bang for the buck, and it's a solid choice for a hunting rig. So that's it for today, guys. Hope you enjoyed that. Stick around because this weekend we have some very good pistol videos coming out that I think you'll like. And until then, thanks for the support, and we'll see you next time.